Hey listeners, it's Eric with a bonus preseason episode of the FNRad Snowboard podcast. I'm trying out a new and more personal way of starting the show for season 9. Because I travel where the guests are, it only makes sense that I share a bit more about the journey I'm on. It's going to make the start of the show a little longer, as is the inclusion of more sponsorship content in an attempt to make FNRad my full-time job. You can soon subscribe to our FNRad Patreon, where the episodes will be available earlier and ad-free. Thanks for tuning in. The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Skyview Campers. An entirely unique, innovative, and lightweight pull-behind tiny home camper, the Skyview's design boasts a modern shape that makes the most efficient use of space. Inspired by mid-century modern architecture, contained in a minimal footprint, completely different than anything else available, and built by Never Summer Industries based out of Denver, Colorado, who has handcrafted high-quality snowboards for over 3 decades, creating a legendary reputation for U.S. domestic manufacturing expertise. For more information, go to skyviewcampers.com. Wired Snowboards Season 7 is now live. Please go to wiredsnowboards.com and ask for Wired Snowboards at your local specialty snowboard shop. The Boardroom Snowboard Shop, Vancouver's premier snowboard shop, offers the right snowboards and related product at the right price with the best service. The Boardroom, providing the best possible product for your personal performance needs. Ripcurl Outerwear is packed with functionality. Ridden by superstars Chris Rasman and DCP, Ripcurl Outerwear is designed to keep you warm, dry, and comfortable. A certified B Corporation, Ripcurl is all about the search. Fixed bindings are tool-free, simplistic bindings that focus on dependability and strength while providing ease of adjustability. So durable that they have a 100% lifetime warranty on buckles and base trays. Fix snowboard bindings built better.
This real estate secret could save you thousands. You get the best real estate agent working for you, and we put your money back in your pocket. In over 30 countries, Find an Epic Agent makes it cheaper to buy or sell a home. That's why it pays to click findinepicagent.com before contacting a realtor.
Beneath outerwear and base layers will keep you comfortable during full days of being active, on the mountain, or in the office. Go to beneath.com. Life begins with what's beneath. 1910 is the collaborative works of Jamie Lynn and Scof, based on a longtime friendship, steeped in snowboarding and art culture. Get your 1910 goods at 1910.com. New Greens by Pure Prescriptions, the superfood greens drink sourced from North American farms. Go to newgreens.com and get their carefully crafted superfood drink for an on-the-go nutrient boost. The Pro Standard GoPro mounts and accessories feature an unmatched multi-functionality and attention to detail that enable you to get more creative with your GoPro while carrying less. Grouse Mountain has built its reputation as the place where Vancouver goes to snowboard by consistently supporting the snowboarding community for over 30 years. With this season's focus on mental wellness, FNRad is proud to partner with The Haven. Established in 1983, The Haven is a not-for-profit center for transformational learning on beautiful Gabriola Island. The Haven offers experientially based programs devoted to understanding ourselves and others and creating a life you want. For 10% off their Come Alive program, the introductory program I'm attending in October, and highly recommend, please enter code FNRAD10 at checkout. As a snowboarder who started in the 80s, it took me forever to figure out some of the basics about the community. The idea that the graphics I loved so much growing up weren't actually created by the pro riders who made them famous hasn't truly sunk in for me yet, even though I know artists and graphic designers, some who even make their living from it, like this week's guest, Mark Kowalchuk. As a kid, I thought pros like Craig and Sean signed all their pro models with a marker. Hell, I probably thought Palmer drew the clowns and Cadillacs himself, or that Tom Sims did it. A few months ago, I read about the brushy trout, for some reason, I still imagine Brushy bringing a rolled up original of the Fishbone skeleton to the Burton headquarters and saying, "Look at this." But that's not how graphics work. It can be a process of teams, of people, of computers trying to predict trends, or even a lone artist hoping to catch the attention of a snowboarder they look up to, and anything in between. And this week's guest has done graphics for more pros than probably any other Canadian artist. You've seen Mark's art, trust me. And last year he even got his own artist pro model binding on Now. He's been doing graphics for Devun Walsh at Wired for 2 years now. He's a resident artist at Academy Snowboards, 32 Boots, and Remind Insoles, and he's the longest running artist at Yes Snowboards. Every time I see him, he's working on like 20 things for top level pros and top tier companies, and they're all mind blowing. He's generous with his time and kind hearted, and his replies to all my dumb questions always help me out. I always love getting together with Mark Kowalchuk, and here is our long-awaited second interview. The first one was unpostable, but probably will show up one day in the Patreon. Both episodes were recorded where Mark resides, in Calgary, Alberta.
My wife's trying to do the... Are we recording, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know. My wife's doing like the mushroom coffee. It's called... what the heck is it called? There's a name for it.
I know the one.
It sounds disgusting. The name makes it sound disgusting, but it's actually not that bad. It's called like sludge or mud.
Oh, yeah, mud water.
Mud water, yeah.
I've seen the ads for that thing.
They got to rebrand.
Does it work?
Actually, like...
Like, is she happy throughout the day and has energy and all that stuff?
No, she's actually more mad about it. She misses coffee.
Yeah. Coffee works so well.
But I actually had the mud water. Like, I stayed down at my buddy John's house, who we were talking about earlier, who owns Remind, and he's got the mud water there, and he doesn't have coffee, and I love coffee, so I was just like, whatever, I'll drink whatever this is.
Yeah.
It was good. It wasn't coffee, but it was good enough.
You could make it through the day.
You can, yeah, like it's like the non-alcoholic beer of coffee.
Right. So you're not having coffee because you don't have the full effects.
Yeah.
But like the ritual is enough to get your mind off the fact you're not having coffee.
Yeah, like it's hot. It's not tea.
It's kind of sludgy.
Yeah.
Good coffee's not sludgy.
It's better than it sounds. I think the Mudwater branding, they've got to call me and remark it, I think.
Yeah, it sounds too much like mud butt or something. It's not right.
It's turning people off, I think. I think they could make millions. Actually, when I went to Bali, they have like the mongoose coffee,
What's mongoose coffee?
They basically trap a mongoose in a cage and feed it these coffee beans that taste like cherries, and then the mongoose poops these cherry coffee beans.
No.
Yes, this is all true. And then they like make the coffee out of this mongoose poop.
I've heard the cat one. They do that with cats.
Yeah, this wild mongoose that will rip your face apart. They put it in a cage and they make this coffee out of it, out of the poop. And I bought a bag of it. They market it as poo coffee, which doesn't really
That's terrible.
do it justice.
No,
They should
of course not.
just call it like wild mongoose coffee and leave the whole how it's made out of it. Really,
Why would someone do that? First of all, like who was the first guy that collected up like the mongoose? They must have had like bumper crop coffee, and they were like, oh, this coffee's so good. Like, no matter what, we want all the beans of this coffee.
Yeah, I don't know, but like, I have no clue. But I tried the coffee because we were there, and it's not bad. Like, it's very strong coffee, and it has that hint of cherry and hint of mongoose poop. I don't know, but like, that was like a huge craze that they were selling in Europe for a while, and you go in these cafes, and people are paying like $20 a pop for like this mongoose poop coffee. And I told them this, and they were like, I watched their faces melt, because they're like, the markup on it, like they're selling a bag for like $5 and people are charging $20 a cup in Europe,
Right.
They were like, oh my God, like I could just see their gears turning, like we could be making so much more money.
But I don't know. You're touching on a part of the human story that we're at.
Let's make this whole interview nothing about art.
Yes, that's a great idea. Late, what is it? Late something capitalism. We're at the end of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're wicked deep into capitalism.
Yeah.
Where things have gotten crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that this little farm in Indonesia that has this thing that they do with this mongoose is worth so much money somewhere else, because it's really like a small grassroots thing that other people are paying a lot of money just to experience, which is crazy.
Yeah, I remember reading a book not that long ago about mangoes, about the mango trade. Actually, no, it was a podcast I heard. Everything I talk about is a podcast I heard. But they were having a really hard time convincing people where mangoes grow that you got to treat them really delicately and wrap them up and put them in the boxes so they don't get bruised. Because they're like, bruised is the best. When they're bruised, that's when they get really sweet. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, you don't understand. They have to look perfect.
Oh, I see.
Because we're selling these mangoes for like $20 each to white people in Seattle.
Right, so they have to look the part.
Right, and the people that are growing the mangoes are like selling them for 5 cents a kilo or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like they're just... It was really difficult for the distributor to get across, like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're taking the shit you grow and we're selling it to people that pay like so much money for one. They might only have one mango all year.
My kid loves mango.
Have you tried the sugar mangoes, those little ones? Oh my God, from Colombia?
No.
They're always sweet. Every single one.
We should probably talk about art.
Let's start at the beginning. When did you first, what came first, art or skateboarding?
Oh, God, that is a good question. I think art. I think it's like, because, like I don't think it was a conscious thing. Like I was, like my own kid now, I was just drawing because I was a child and that's what I did and that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like really, oh, I'm doing art or I'm an artist or whatever. I was just a young kid that liked to draw. So,
right.
I mean, any kid can pick up a crayon and draw. And I was just doing a lot of that. And that existed before I was ready to pick up a skateboard. You know what I mean? Like I started drawing my own like little drawings in grade 4, I remember.
Yeah. And
I think grade 4 sticks out in my mind because that was like the time when like the teacher approached my parents and was like, your kid's pretty good at art, like he might be an artist someday. Like, like the classic, like,
wow,
that's what he's good at,
Sure.
And so I don't know. I would say definitely art came first, but
yeah,
I think I picked up a skateboard, I think around 88 or 89. So I must have been junior high. Yeah. Grade around age 13, maybe.
Yeah, so you and I've got to be on the same age level.
Yeah.
Because, you mentioned that World Industries Vallely board.
Yeah.
Which was... Vallely is the right way to say it. That's how he says it, so that's his name.
Yeah, Vallely.
That was a couple years in, right? Like,
yeah, that wasn't my first by any means. My first board, I remember like yesterday, obviously. Like, I bought it in Duluth, Minnesota. I didn't even buy it in my hometown. We were on a family trip.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends, Kyle, had bought Santa Cruz Jason Jesse.
Sick.
The Neptune Sea God one. No, sorry. Correction. The first one he bought was the Jeff Grosso Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
And he bought the Jason Jesse like shortly after, but he bought the Grosso, and he called me over and like, he's like, look what I got. And I was like, wow, like that thing's sick. Like I don't even... Like, what do you do with it? It's rad, like I didn't even really know what it was about, but I just knew it was cool.
Yeah.
And then I obviously convinced, my parents to get me something. So they got me some shitty, like, like not Walmart board. Walmart didn't exist. It was called like San Francisco shop. It was like a mall shop.
Yeah, with the T-shirts. It had all the T-shirts.
Yeah, they just sold like crap.
Yeah, it was almost like the It Store or something. It was just like
totally
bric-a-brac, weird.
Yeah, they had
stuff.
lava lamps
yes,
and skateboards.
Exactly.
And like
yeah, I remember.
tiki torches and stuff.
yeah.
So this board was below a Walmart board. Like Walmart would have been nice. Like this board, like I'm not even kidding. The wheels on the board were plastic but hollow. Like I actually like slid.
I remember these. I remember these.
Spotted the wheels and they were hollow. So
and
it went like
through the plastic.
Went through the plastic.
Yeah. No, those are the worst boards that were ever made.
For sure. Hands down.
Yeah.
So then that was all I had was a San Francisco board. And then we went on like a family trip to Duluth and there was a skate shop called Freestyle there. And I, it was like this, you walk into this mom and pop shop, but it was big and there was like, I don't know. When I was a kid, it was like, must have been like 100 boards in my mind, like on the walls. Like, and I just like laser beamed this one board for whatever reason, like the graphic just grabbed me, and that's why I'm telling this story because, at that young impressionable age, like I didn't know anything about the riders. I didn't know anything about the shape I wanted. I was just like, that was the board graphic I wanted. Yeah. And it was the Jeff Kendall Santa Cruz with the Atomic Man on it, holding the globe and the missile.
Yeah.
He looks like Freddy Krueger.
Yep.
Yeah. And I was like, it just looked badass to me. Like, like I always had like this, I always had like a darker sense of like an edgy style that I was into. So like, I was like, ooh, that's like, that kind of nailed it for me.
Do you know who the artist is? Did you find that out?
It was Jim Phillips that drew it. Yeah. That's really Jim
cool.
was doing all the Santa Cruz art back then. And then eventually he passed the torch to his son, Jimbo. So, like with Santa Cruz, they did everything in series. Like Roscop had an evolution of a graphic.
Yeah.
Like Kendall had an evolution of a graphic. So, like at some point, Jimbo took over those series.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's insane. Because I do remember Jimbo. I remember the name Jim Phillips, but I wouldn't be able to tell that. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to like go like, oh, that's a Jimbo or that's a.
I can because I'm an art nerd, but yeah.
So, did you learn to skate then? Obviously, you learned to skate.
Yeah, I mean, skating was a pretty big passion for me at that point, like junior high and into high school. It led into my snowboarding career as well. Like not career, but like getting into snowboarding. But at that time, in junior high, snowboarding wasn't really allowed on hills yet, especially where I was from.
Right.
It was sort of coming out, but like it wasn't like on an accepted level yet.
I'm trying to think like 88, 89, like just mystery era, ketchup mustard kind of era. Like the boards were resort ready, but the resorts weren't ready for
exactly.
snowboarding.
It wasn't allowed at a lot of resorts, and it wasn't allowed at any of the resorts I went to. And then all of a sudden, it was.
Yeah, actually, resort ready is a stretch. Ratchets on the buckles.
Yeah,
there was a lot of binding, popping, and you didn't have good boots, and there's a lot of people like falling out of boards, walking down the hill in their socks. Like, so that's not resort ready. That's,
right.
Yeah. But the boards were good. Like the boards were good 88, 89.
It was like my snowboarding sort of mirrored my skating in the sense that, all these things came out, and as a kid, every kid's guilty of this, of like wanting to do everything that comes out. Like soccer, I want to do that. Like BMXing, sure, give me a BMX bike. And your parents are just like shelling money out, hoping something sticks.
Yeah, totally.
And then you don't just quit in a year.
Right.
So and so no like disrespect to my parents and filling me out of like just sampling all these things until I actually stuck with something. They bought me like a Legend SE black snow snowboard. Thinking that it was going to be a fad and I was going to be over with it in a year.
Sure.
So I would like go to the RV and like build a jump and just huck myself, not even being able to turn.
Right.
And then like my parents were hardcore skiers. Like my dad was like a ski patrol guy and like worked in his friend's ski shop as a bonus.
What was the resort out there? This is Thunder Bay,
yeah,
right?
Thunder Bay, Ontario.
What's the resort called?
Well, we had many. For a city of 120,000 people, at one given time, there might have been like 5 hills that were local to us.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was a bit too much. It was a bit overkill. So we had like Candy Mountain, Loch Lomond, Baldy, and then we had Big Thunder, which is like mostly like ski jumping, and then Mount McKay, which is like would have been like our COP, like a small little like learner's hill. So yeah we had 5 hills.
Wow.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. When I drove across the country and came through Thunder Bay, it was like, it felt like that pass was just as big as like the mountains out west. Like it's a pretty serious.
Yeah, for Ontario,
range.
We have I think the biggest hills.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's gotta be.
I mean that's a pretty. It's not a big award compared to out here, but
no, it isn't. How was the snow? Do you remember? Was the snow?
Oh, it's icy.
Yeah, it's just cold.
You pray for a powder day, but they're few and far between. Like
right.
It's mostly like pretty compact.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never been there.
And it's cold.
Ride.
It's cold.
Yeah.
I mean, you get like, days that we'd still be out in the hill and it's minus 20. I mean, you get used to that.
Yeah, I can remember whole months that were minus 20 or less. Mm-hmm. The whole month. You're just going to school, you're going snowboarding, going ice skating, whatever it is.
But when you're in Thunder Bay, I mean, that's what you do. Like we have mountains and we have water, and you're living in Thunder Bay, which is pretty isolated. So you're going to be snowboarding, whether it's minus 10 or minus 20. And, when snowboarding came out, I did convince my dad finally to buy me a snowboard, and I got like my first board was a Rosinal with the high back, so it went straight up my back basically. They were like ridiculous.
What board was it?
Oh god, I don't know. It looked like it kind of had that like they ripped off the purple black Craig Kelly look. That Burton one, the
I do.
Splattery.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Kelly Air.
Yeah.
I can't think
it's kind of like they ripped off that board graphic, and then the bottom was like a fluorescent yellow. It was a foam core board. It wasn't even like a wood core board.
All their boards were foam core until I think JF Palchat's pro model was a wood core. Like he just wanted that.
Yeah.
Their foam core boards rode really, really well.
It was a decent board.
Yeah.
I was happy with it. I mean, my dad bought it for me because it was like they were blowing it out for like cheap with bindings, and it was, he just thought like, keep in mind, this is like when snowboarding was just being introduced to Thunder Bay, and it's like, he just thought it was a fad for sure.
Right.
I mean, but he supported my being super annoying and wearing them down. So
yeah, were you addicted like people get addicted? Like you just, as soon as you were making turns on your snowboard, you're like, this is what I'm going to be doing?
I mean, I think you can tell I'm the kind of person that is not, I wouldn't say the word compulsive because that sounds like a negative thing, but like you can tell me something and I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to like do it like 120%.
Yeah,
like I'm just that way. Like you can tell, like people still DM me all the time. Like you must be like the hardest working artist because you just put out new graphics every day.
That's true.
And it's just what you do. Like if like anybody that becomes good at anything or whatever, it's just skateboarding, snowboarding. Like that's the eat, sleep, and breathe and do that. Right?
Obsessive.
They become somewhat obsessive, and I think in a good way. But like,
I don't think obsessed is. Yeah, it has negative connotations in some things, but I think when you're talking about surfing, skating, snowboarding, it just takes over your life in a way that doesn't leave time for the kind of bullshit, picket fence, better job, more money, better car kind of thing. You're just like, if the car gets me to a mountain, that's the best car. That's the car that I need.
I think if you could say, if somebody that is going to do something, whether they're going to make money or die trying or be broke still do it.
Yeah.
And also, like, if they do it, like, say they go snowboarding once in the day and they have the opportunity to go again that same day and they do it.
Yeah.
That's the same sort of caliber, right? Like, that's the person we're talking about.
Yeah, that's the selector too. Like, when I was talking with Fabian yesterday, Fabian Rower from Switzerland, and a lot of snowboarders from that era will talk about how snowboarding now is different. Well, of course it is, because you could be 5 years old and have functioning equipment, which when we were starting out, no matter who you were, you didn't have functioning equipment.
No.
Like, you couldn't, there wasn't enough, there was no amount of money in the world that would give you something that worked.
I had the Noah Selaznick arc with baseless bindings. That did not work. That didn't work. That was, you might as well have been riding in like a door down the hill.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, it just didn't work on so many levels. And what boots are you riding at that point? You would have had like some Airwalk free rides
Jesus,
or something.
that's a good question. What boots? I don't even know. They might have been Airwalks, actually.
Yeah, because basically at that time, the Airwalks were pretty good, but they were like Cougar boots or something. They were just like no liners.
Yeah.
Just like fit right to your foot and like flopped out. There was no support.
I'm trying to think what boots I had back then. That's a good question. That doesn't stick in my mind at all.
I had the Airwalk Advantages, which were like the low end ones, and they were used, and they were my friend Dwayne's, and they were 11 and a halves, and I've got size 9 feet. So I wore like 8 pairs of socks.
I think I did that. I think that was what we thought at the time, because I actually had size 9 feet, and I remember rocking like 10 and a half boots back then.
And no boards were wide enough for them.
No.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous
I don't know
time.
why we did that, but...
Because there was nothing, because it was like there was no equipment.
Right.
Like, even there was nowhere to go and buy it. When you would see a skate shop that had 20 snowboards, you'd freak out. Mm-hmm. Or like a sporting goods store that had the Burton lineup.
Yeah.
You'd go and be like, I can't believe they have these here.
I think my dad to this day still says, I can't believe you made a career out of skateboarding and snowboarding and doing art for them. Like, somehow combining all three things together.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty
it's very special and very,
It's like, how does that even happen? You found the three things that you loved and made a career out of doing all three things somehow together.
It's a 1 in a million thing. Yeah. Nobody gets to do that.
Yeah.
So when is okay, so I see, I kind of already know your story, and the viewers of the show know that we recorded in your yard and that it just did not work out. Yes. Because I talk about the failed shows.
Oh, okay.
I do. I'm like, fuck, I had this great interview with Mark, and it didn't turn out. It didn't.
It happens. I mean, ironically, DCP is like one of my best friends, and the same thing happened to him. With the bomb hole.
Right.
He recorded his bomb hole, and he made a special trip to do so. And then they deleted the footage somehow. And then shortly after, he broke his neck.
That's right.
Like literally a week or two after. And he couldn't go back because he had a broken neck. And he was super bummed. And I said, you know what? This is all going to work out because you already answered the questions once, and now you have time to think about them.
Yep.
2, you have a crazy story. You broke your neck and you survived. And so that's going to be a new story you're going to tell in your round 2.
Yeah.
And then and you're just going to do it better.
His was great. He's
I
a really
talked to
good
him
guy.
today.
Yeah.
And I told him, Eric lost the first time. And he just spewed everything I said to him back to me today. He's like, you're going to be so much more prepared, and you're going to, whatever.
You know what the main thing is with that one that I remember was that because I was so nervous about trying to get the video and the audio was not 100% on point. I couldn't sync up the audio and the video.
Yeah.
So I had to decide, do I put out an audio-only bonus episode? But I wanted to have you have like a real episode.
But I think, if you look at it this way, you got a chance to sit down with me and actually, get to know me for a couple hours,
Yes.
my family and my son, and see the stuff pre-hand. And then, this is 2 years ago. So we've obviously been friends for 2 years now.
Yeah.
And now coming back into it, you know exactly what to ask me. You know what I'm about. So
it's a fun story. Yeah. So because I know this, you left Thunder Bay to go to Toronto. You got into a pretty badass art school, right?
Oh, I don't know if it's badass. I think I got into the art school I could afford.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, most of the cool kids were going to Sheridan at the time, what's the other one? Sheridan, OCA, OCA were the two cool kid schools.
Okay.
And I couldn't afford those. It was hard to get into those schools.
Right.
And I got into George Brown, and they offered me, because I went to fine art school first. Cool. They said, if you come, they wanted me to go there bad because they didn't have many designers that could actually draw coming into school.
Right.
So they offered me, it's oh, you come to our school, we'll skip you up till second year.
Nice.
I got to skip a whole year of design, which sounded great on paper, but then I didn't learn what those guys learned that year.
Right.
So it was playing catch up the entire time. So it was actually a little harder, but
so what's the difference between fine art school and design school?
Oh, they're complete polar opposites.
Okay.
Fine art is, I majored in silk screening and life drawing and painting, and you're learning to be a fine artist, and you're learning, painting and drawing and proportions and how to do things manually. And I think the vibe of fine art school is completely different than design school because, they don't really push timelines. They give you we want 10 paintings done by such and such date and you have to present. But if you only get 6 paintings done, they give you extensions pretty easily because you can't really put a time on being inspired and painting. That as long as you're working, they want to see that you're working.
Anyone who knows of an artist, a true artist, knows that if they're uninspired, they're not working. They're frustrated and they're.
But design school is the polar opposite of that. Whereas everything is timelines. Go go go. You're under the client's thumb. If you're dude, honestly, I was shell shocked because here I came out of a school that was you do you, man. You paint, you get that stuff done when you can. Don't worry about it. And then I get tossed into design school, and I'm not shitting you. If you're 10 minutes late on handing your project in, 20% off. 10 minutes late.
What?
Yeah. Every kid was at school an hour early trying to get their project and papers together and just be here you go, not to lose 10% or whatever it was, it's it was all deadlines.
So you're saying at fine art school, it's you did silk screening, painting, measurements, proportions, that kind of stuff. What did you do at design school?
That's, it's more on computers and you're more focusing on commercial design, taking your ideas that you would maybe sketch and draw and then, utilizing them on the computer to come up with logos or, anything that's commercial. I majored in print. You can go into advertising, you can go into different aspects, media, web or whatever. I decided on print. That was, it seemed like my forte, just, with silk screening and stuff like that. And then, I slowly realized that in design and graphic design and print that you could still do art and design together.
Right. I mean, that's the best way to do it, right?
But you have to understand the time frame too. This is over 20 years ago, and design was a kind of a start of the boom when I got into it. It was still pretty new, right? And people were still kind of figuring what it meant to be a designer. Creating billboards and business cards and logos for corporate America,
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
There was the stuff that we have now where people are drawing illustrations and Procreate on their laptops. That didn't exist, you know?
Right.
It was a much more rigid time to be a designer. And if you wanted to get a job, oh God, you'd have to make all these portfolio samples, put them in a binder, mail such binder off to like your potential job.
Yeah.
Have them look at it, hope for an interview, and hope if you didn't get an interview, you get that back.
Right.
Because there's $1.
It's expensive.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Like now we just have like emails and websites and social media and whatever. Like it's so simple for anybody to be like, here's my stuff.
It's too much. It's too easy, right? Like,
no, I don't. I think I look at it now. It's like, what a great time we live in to be a designer.
Don't.
Like I'm not saying, like back in my day it was uphill both ways, but it was. You know what I mean? Like it was a hard time to really stand out then. You know, and not that like there's pros and cons to both, right? Like, it's gotten easier to get your stuff out there, but it's also gotten easier to be a designer. All the software makes it easier to do the different things that you had to do now. So there's more designers out there to compete against. So you get what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, I hear it quite often in the space, right?
It's like being a photographer.
Yeah.
Digital photography
exactly.
has made it easier for everyone to do photography.
Right. And also just the phone. That's a really good one. That's where I was going with it is like Eastone and the Bomb Hole, they're kind of having their falling out, and he's going to do his own podcast. By the time this is out, I won't have to cut this out. And so he was designing a logo. And I've been designing, you've seen the dumb thing I've been designing for.
I thought it was pretty good, dude.
Like 6 months or whatever. I'm doodling it. I'm obsessed with the doodling of it. I'm just not a designer. And I haven't seen it turned into something
But what makes a designer? You still manage to do a logo.
Right.
So aren't you a designer?
I guess.
What is a designer?
I'm a bad designer.
It's like, here's the problem is that we put these labels on people like you're an artist, you're not an artist.
Right.
Everybody's an artist. Everybody's a designer. Yeah. I'm a snowboarder. I'm a pretty mediocre snowboarder. I can do a 360 and a 540 and a 720 when I really put myself to it. But, But I'm not like out there doing double corks. I'm not a good snowboarder.
Right.
But I don't say I'm not a snowboarder because I can't do a double cork.
I got you. Got you.
So, I mean, labeling is just like, I think we're all people. And the fact that you realize that, you can do a logo for yourself, you are a designer. Yeah,
there was a lot to it. Like, it's kind of exciting to do something that you're attached to, right? Like that you're like, hey, I'm drawing a thing here and it's taking a shape that I like. But what I was saying about Ethan is for his podcast, he knows lots of snowboard designers, right?
Yeah. He knows me.
He knows you. Exactly. But
he never called me about it.
And the reason that he's not calling people is that he's on the fence. He's like, dude, I can just pay $99 and have 200 competing designs from 200 different designers.
He went on like the Fiverr type thing?
The Fiverr thing. Yeah. And Dow has showed me that too. He's like, dude, why would you ever reach out to someone that's going to charge you X amount of dollars when you could look at all these portfolios? There's people that just say like your design, your logo, $15, and then they've got like 20 logos that you're looking at going, you know what, this guy's not bad.
I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Please
here
do.
A little bit.
Please.
No disrespect to anybody that wants to go that route. That's great. But there's also something to be said about connecting with somebody that means something to you.
Yes.
I mean, obviously Draplin comes up as an industry logo artist. I'm throwing that out there because that's what he does, is logos. I mean,
his name came up for the Eastone podcast.
Sure.
Yeah.
And, people look at the Snowboard Mag logo and it's all they have to say is Draplin designed it.
Right.
It's like, because anybody that gets that he's involved in that community and there's a sense of, what am I trying to say? Like he's part of something bigger, and it's like, rather than say, I paid some guy $5 in
right. It's like you're doing it in the family. Like within the snowboarding community, there are standout guys that have designed tons
You
of cool
could get a
shit.
board made in China for $100,
Right.
or you could pay this guy that you know has been
Dow,
involved
right.
in
Rob,
the snowboard
yeah.
industry to
Rob
make your
Dow
board.
making you a board in Vancouver out of like high quality materials, right?
Sorry, Ethan, I love you. I'm just...
And I'm not throwing him under the bus. He's like, I'll probably call Draplin. Like right? But
And he should, because Draplin does
Right.
logos. I mean, I hate doing logos. Don't call me. That's not my forte.
well, that's the other thing, right? Like, so I was talking with Scott Pommier today, who's more on the filming side of things, but his brother Andrew has done tons of stuff in the industry. You know, Momentum. Wheels was a lot of his art, and he's done art.
I used to always buy Momentum wheels.
And his aesthetic. That's one of the things you get is like you get like a graphic story, like an aesthetic that you like that can really either be, you know. Now there's just a lot of good imitators. That's what it comes down to.
Sure,
but wouldn't you rather pay the guy that's in the industry that has some clout and that has some
and I think that's
meaning? Yeah.
I mean, you know, a lot of people complain that there's too many board brands, skateboarding and snowboarding out there competing. It's like super saturated. But the hindsight to it is a lot of those board brands that are popping up are, you know, veteran pros that are like, okay, I want to do my own thing. And like when you retire from being a pro skater or a pro snowboard, well, naturally you're either going to like want to own your own snowboard brand or snowboard shop, or, I mean, that's what you know.
Yeah.
You know, why wouldn't you want to do that? So,
Right.
I mean, I think it's good that like all these new brands are being supported by people that are somewhat involved in the industry.
So many of them.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't really translate to like Joe Q Public, right? Like a lot of people need a middleman, like a shop, to tell them like, hey, the reason you're buying this is because you're supporting a family of pro snowboarders and people from the industry that have been in it for a long time.
I mean, my whole career is based on that. Like, you know, I think last time you asked me how I've done art for all these brands, and I would say 95% is word of mouth. Like, you know, I'll throw DCP and Trevor Andrea. Those are the two early dudes that backed me pretty hard. And anything they did, they brought me along. Like, you know, like when DCP, you know, had a snowboard goggle on Spy, he's like, this is the dude. You know, when he had a whatever, he'd be like, Remind Insole, he's like, this is the dude. And then, you know, those guys are recommending you so often, they're opening the door for you. And then once you've walked through that door and brands like working with you, well, then you're in. Then you're doing art for those brands.
Yeah,
too.
it's awesome.
So, I mean, it is a family, and that's how you get those things.
What was the first one? Where and how did you get it in the door? Like, what was your first?
I would have to say Trevor Andrew was the first person that really, in the snowboard world, backed me pretty hard.
Yeah.
It was back in the day when he was kind of finishing his time with Burton, and
Rad.
he was hurt and
Not
working on
rad.
his music career.
Yeah.
He had just gotten together with Santi, and you know, music was his prime objective back then.
Yeah.
And dude, I don't even remember how we started talking, but you know, I was doing my little doodles, and I had a art studio at the time that I was renting, and I just showed him my stuff, and you know, obviously he could see the skate influences in it,
Right.
which is what he's all about.
Right.
And so he was loving it, and then so he started using me on stuff, and you know, I did some stuff for Electric for him. I did some stuff for Nixon. I did like a skate deck for Nixon for him.
Oh, sick.
I did some album art for him. All his merch stuff I did for him. The Trouble Andrew air hole mask. I did anything he did. Like, it was me drawing mostly. Like, he had other guys too, but
Yeah.
and then
How did you meet him?
I don't remember. I wish I could say I remember, but it was we're talking 2008 here.
Right.
So,
Was he in Alberta at the time?
no. I mean, I went to Whistler quite a bit too, though. One one of my best friends from Thunder Bay was living in Whistler the whole time. So I was out in Whistler all the time. Like,
okay, that makes sense.
I was riding Camp of Champs and all the whole bit.
Brad, as a camper or as a coach, as an employee of the thing, as a poacher,
as none of the above. Like, I had some friends that were coaches. Dwayne Weeb obviously I went with Dwayne every year.
Yeah.
And Duffy got me in all the time.
Sick.
So I go with Dwayne, and Duffy would pick us up at the airport.
Did you do the Duffy smile for option?
No, but I could see why you thought that.
Yeah.
No, I've never actually drawn anything for Chris. We're buddies, but he's never got me to draw anything for him.
He hasn't had a lot of things.
No.
Duffy branded.
I liked his coffee bean board.
Very cool.
Because I do like coffee, but
that's epic.
Yeah.
So when you're doing this Trevor Andrews stuff, had you already done stuff for legitimate skate companies at that point? Was it first thing
legitimate
skate?
Is a really loose word.
I mean, like Powell and Bones and stuff like.
Oh
those
yeah,
dudes?
not at that level. No, I was doing more like grassroots stuff back then.
Yeah.
I was doing like some local Calgary skate brands. They were pretty hack. But that's okay. That's all I wanted back then. I still had a day job doing graphic design at the time, and that stuff was just all fun for me. I was doing it on purely recreational.
That's
level.
cool. That's cool because you're doing your job, and then these little side things come up.
It was just a side gig that kept me sane, and I didn't even. Honestly, at that point in my career, I didn't even think it was going to be a career. Like I was doing it at such a humble level that I was just happy that anybody liked my stuff.
Right.
I was still learning. You're talking as an artist, you get better as you go. And I look back at that stuff, and it was all pretty bad. But that's okay. I can say it. It's fine. We all grow.
Well, that's the thing about creative work is that, if you have a good mentor or good teachers, they're going to tell you, look, your taste is good and you just need to get your skills up to your taste. It's not a big deal. Everyone sucks when they start.
Yeah.
Sure, you can point to some random, savant that can just do something so super well, but that's not the way it works. You need to develop a skill and a style and a...
Yeah, and it takes time. Yeah. And I think the paradox to skating and snowboarding is we're doing these sports and we're getting older and our bodies are breaking down, so it becomes harder to do these things. The opposite is of art, whereas you're constantly always slowly trickling learning, trickling. You're learning you're learning at a very slow rate.
Like a trickle of learning, right?
Trickle effect of learning, right?
Yes.
And it takes a long time to really figure things out and get your methods and get your style and improve, because I'm sure there's different speeds, but you're not just becoming a master overnight. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And so. Yeah, you just get better with age.
Do you follow Blaze Rosenthal and Corey Smith and the stuff that those guys are doing?
Yeah, Blaze and I worked together on Chad's board last 2 years.
Oh, that's right.
Academy and stuff. Yeah, Blaze is rad.
Yeah,
Blaze, yeah.
How did you get linked up with Jeff at Academy?
Word of mouth. I was down in San Diego. And I think, this is such a little rabbit hole, but I was doing art for Bjorn and Oven at the time, and I was staying at my buddy's house, who was the art director for Oven, and his roommate, Zach, was one of the guys involved with Skate Mafia and JSLV, but he snowboarded for Academy. He's a really talented.
Cool.
Zach snowboarded for Academy and a bunch of brands. He's a pretty talented dude. He recommended me to JB of Academy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did a graphic for them. And it was, I don't know how it sold or anything. But then they came back to me later on and was like, do you want to do more? And I was like, sure.
Rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I randomly bumped into JB Donner Ski Ranch. Mm-hmm. And we had a great conversation. Seems like a really good guy.
You guys are brothers in the beard?
Yeah, brothers of the beard. And then also just like his philosophy seems like he's ironed out the wrinkles. Like he's not trying to be a giant company. Yeah. He's trying to keep it tight, and he's trying to keep it kind of family.
He wants to keep it pretty core.
Yeah, and keep it core.
Yeah.
Which he's doing a great job.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah. He's got the right vibe. And he's got he's got his whole backstory too. Like he worked at all these crazy places with him and with all these crazy people. I wish I could remember his story more, but he has his path that he's gone to get where he is, and all these people I mentioned, he's like, oh yeah, I work with that guy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's like now I'm working with this person that he worked with 10 years ago. The industry is a really small, tight place.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fabric of the snowboard industry is tight.
It is. It's really small when you actually are in it and understand how it's operating.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody that's like, oh, I was working at Burton and now I'm over at K2 or whatever,
Rome or everything is kind of an offshoot of some other offshoot.
We just jump around. That's all we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like the stuff that you're doing for Yes. So Academy and Yes, you seem like you're kind of the main guy for those.
Yeah, I'm the veteran, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say about that besides, it's about creating relationships, and people just really, if they like working with you, they just keep calling. The phone just keeps ringing, you know, and it's about a relationship, really. It's not about, part of it is about them liking your art, but part of them is also about buying into you and liking you and knowing they can rely on you to get the job done. There's a lot of artists out there that can't meet the deadlines, can't get the graphics.
Didn't go to designer school. Didn't become the...
Yeah, there's a lot to it.
The deadline guy, yeah.
I think, it's hard to justify spending 5 to 6 years to be an artist in post-secondary school. And, luckily when I was telling my parents that I'm doing university, now I'm doing college and I'm going to be an artist. Man, if your kid told you that, you'd have to be a pretty patient parent to be like, this is costing a lot of money.
Yes. Yes.
You're not being a doctor here. You're not doing 7 years of med school.
At the end of this, it's really, really unlikely that you're going to have a career.
Yeah. Man, I should call my parents and thank them. But my mom's no longer with us, but she gets
sorry to hear that.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Where was I? Oh yeah, I think it's maybe it's back to that compulsive bit again, but it was, I actually really set myself up pretty stellar because now I have the advantage of doing all this stuff by hand, scanning it, setting it up, doing the digital work, using templates that are provided to me and setting up stuff for pre-press and ready to go. And I can set up a file that's they don't have to do anything to it. It's ready to be printed,
So
and
sick.
It's a no-brainer for a company. They're paying an artist to design something and it's good to go. We don't have to pay our guy to set up this guy's files. You know what I mean?
Right. So, yeah. You're easy to work with because you've already done it.
Yeah, I can take the design from A all the way to Z.
Yeah,
for them, it's no, they're not losing sleep over me.
Yeah, like that Devun graphic that you did for Wired this year. I don't know what the timeline was on that, but I remember the concept, and then it seemed like it just appeared. It was just all of a sudden it was just there.
How do I say this without sounding weird about it? I do so much art every day that I'm pretty efficient at it. You know what I mean? I'm like a finely oiled machine at what I do.
Yeah.
So, I can churn things out pretty quickly, and not that sounds bad because then you're almost like shooting yourself in the foot. We're like, well, why am I paying you this amount to do something if it only takes you this long to do it?
That's what I was talking with Scott Palmier about today.
Yeah. But what you're paying for is me. Like
the schooling, the practice, the art, doing art every day for 30 years of your life. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think art is a little bit like a fingerprint too. Like you can get into the whole AI thing, and
how does that? How do you feel on that one?
Well, here's my thought on it. Like, I have an interesting, unique way of doing my line work. I think that is what people recognize from me.
Yeah.
And my coworker asked, like, "Oh, aren't you worried about being replaced with AI in like a couple of years?" And I said, "I don't think that AI can really draw the way I draw." Because it chooses like a certain styles that are commonly used styles, but I think the way I draw is unique to myself.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
And so they tried to put in to make it look like my drawing, and it didn't turn out anything that looks like it.
Okay.
And not to say that it won't evolve to cover those like holes.
Right.
But I think that like, if somebody's coming to me to do a design, they're not just coming to me for like a Fiverr design. They're coming to me because they like the way I draw.
Right.
They like who I am in this industry as like a family serving like a history of doing skate snowboard art.
Yep.
There's a reason they're coming to me besides just wanting a graphic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, when I did the board that I wrote this year with my friend Carlos, I mean, he was just an artist that I was like, could you do a graphic for a snowboard? Mm-hmm. I liked his art, and it turned out great because I liked his art, and he's good at doing his way of making art. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to see he'll put out his latest work, and then he always shows the like illustration process sped up in like in a time lapse.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, it looks so easy to do. He makes it look so easy.
He's become an oiled machine at his craft.
Totally.
And that's why I do so many live drawings, so people can see my process. And that's why I do live pinnings at events, and so people can see how I work and realize that, like, what I do and how I do it is a recipe for myself.
Yes.
I've figured out a process that works for me that is an efficient way to put out quality artwork at a level that I feel is print ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
And so like people like, man, you churn it out, and they'll like watch my live drawings. It's like, no, it's not churning it out. It's just knowing how to get from A to Z and not have to hit all the speed bumps all the way through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What not to do.
Yeah, when we were recording the first time, you did a live drawing while we were talking.
Yeah.
The pizza guy, which is, I still have it. It's sick.
And I could probably draw that blindfolded because I've drawn that pizza guy before.
Yeah, what was the pizza guy's story? It was on pizza plates, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was doing some art for Sizzle Pie in Portland, which is a pizza.
What are you doing down in Portland? You were just like living there, or
no? It's a pizza franchise,
Sick.
And they're like a big name in Portland and Seattle and Oregon and the whole area. They have like many shops, and their whole thing is like they combine like the imagery of skateboarding and beer and pizza, and they have like a vibe, it's like they pretty much sponsored the skate world with pizza,
That's killer.
And if you go on their shop, you can just know, and they put on art shows, and they flew me, they got me into Portland to do this art show and put my wife and I up at a nice hotel, and they're good dudes. But I was doing some sort of skate influenced art for Sizzle Pie, and that sort of like skeleton pizza pie came out of that. Yeah.
Rad. And
I don't even remember what it was for. But
and you drew a bunch of them, right? Like that was, or you did them live or something. There was something about
no, I just like, because it became so easy to do that little character.
Yeah.
That I would like do them for people if they were like, draw something on my like whatever, and I just draw them that pizza because it was just like a no-brainer.
Yes.
I like when I toured with In Flames in Europe, but like, we get off stage and people like, draw on my like whatever, and like pizza, zombie pizza, there you go. Get out of here.
You just buried the lead there. You were touring with a musical act, right? And doing live art at their shows. Was that the
I think I left out, like I said, my three biggest loves were like skateboarding, snowboarding, and art. But there's actually four. Like I love music. Like music is equally in there as much.
Dope.
I mean, I can't draw without listening to music. It's part of how I work.
Cool.
And so I mean, I wouldn't say I just like metal music or I just like whatever. I like just good music. I'm all over the map, but I do like metal music a lot. And the singer of In Flames, Anders, and I have a clothing brand together, and I was doing art for In Flames for many years, since something about, I think I started with them in 2014.
Damn.
Or something. Yeah. And then in 2017, when my wife was pregnant with our son, I've traveled all of Europe with In Flames and live painted on stage 11 cities.
Shit.
Yeah, and I think this is like the coolest part is we took all the paintings and auctioned them off each night and donated all the money to charity.
That's so sick.
Yeah, went to like abused children.
That's the way to go.
Yeah. So it wasn't all about fame and glory. It was trying to achieve something.
Yeah. It's always a bit better if you're doing it in service of helping out some other people.
I mean, we have a pretty charmed life some days, and it's good to give back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially you're traveling all over Europe.
Exactly.
Partying and hanging out and doing art. Yeah, that's epic.
I mean, we got it pretty good, and I mean, if you can give back, you should. That's how I feel about
absolutely.
It. Yeah, so it was pretty. I mean, talk about a career challenger. Like I think that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Is
really?
Oh yeah, like totally. Like fish out of water, out of my element. Like I'm so used to live painting. I love doing it. Like I enjoy it. But here I am on stage with like metal dudes like bouncing around the stage. I'm like gotta kind of like make sure I'm like out of their way a little. Like I'm in my spot, but I gotta like make sure that they're not like coming towards me or something while I'm painting. And then I got like strobe lights going everywhere.
Wow.
And I'm trying to like do this painting. And then like I've got 2 hours to bang out a killer painting.
Yeah.
Which is like, for me, the average time is to do like something decent is 3 hours.
Okay.
Like I can, like if I have 3 to 5 hours, I know it's going to be gold.
So you're hustling.
2 hours is hustling for me.
Yeah.
And like, like we're talking at a decent sized painting. Like the smaller it is, you're using less paint, but
got it.
Like I'm talking about something that's actually like a decent size, right?
Insane.
And so I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. Like, the band, like Anders, the singer, believed in me.
Yeah.
He's seen me live paint. He knew what I could do.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have this idea. He's like, we'll fly to Europe. You'll paint on the stage. And I was like, I'm not going to tell the dude no.
Right.
Like
right.
He believes in me, and he's willing to finance this trip of bringing me to Europe and like 2.5 weeks on tour with them. So I'm gonna suck this up and try and make this work, right? Epic. It was freaking terrifying, dude. Like the first 3 shows, my heart was in my throat. Like,
oh wow.
Well, yeah, like we're talking like thousands of people, like just like amped to see this band, and I'm this dude on stage. Nobody's there to see me.
Right.
Like,
right.
who the hell's this guy? I had to walk out on stage first. That's how they started each show. Where I'd
insane.
walk out with my canvas, put it up and start painting, and then they would come out and the music would go to what I was painting, like and like so I was like the conductor of the show somehow, like where I was started each show, and I'm like, this is like heavy, you know, and like this is on me. If I make this look stupid, like,
right,
you know,
right.
This is how I felt personally.
I'm
sure they didn't think this, but you know, so but like after about, you know, there's 11 shows. After about 3 of them, I kind of got my stride. I'm like, okay, I can do this. And
this is doable.
Yeah, this is I got the flow, you know.
That's rad.
I had the like I got the first 3 done well enough too.
Yeah, that you're like, okay.
But I was less nervous after the first 3.
Right.
You know.
And did it become kind of fun?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had a blast that whole trip. I mean, the fun that we had on the trip made the whole thing fun. You know?
Yeah.
Like I got to travel on a bus for 2.5 weeks in the cubby hole, and then you're partying on the bus and the whole bit. Like it was.
I mean, while your wife is pregnant back.
I know.
Oh,
sorry, babe.
Well, let's show some art. How should we do this? I'll zoom out and clean this up a bit.
I just grabbed a bunch of random stuff. So if we want, we can just pull some stuff out, and I can tell you some backstory behind. You can ask me questions about it, or
yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. All right.
Oh wow, there's just so much amazing shit here. Let's start with the Mr. Peanut up front.
This is actually a skateboard graphic. Do you want me to hold it up, or what?
Yeah, hold it up. Let's see what that looks like. Oh yeah, people can see that.
Yeah, this is a skateboard graphic I did for Reset Shop in the States, and Chad Foreman used to work at Black Box, is now like the marketing owner of Fallen Shoes and Skate Light and Red Bull Skate and a bunch of stuff. He owns the skate shop. So is
that the original sketch, or is that the final?
Yeah, this is the
product?
ink work. I drew it full size. Like I drew it's actually like a full skateboard size. Yeah, and I scanned it. You can see like the areas I wetted out and whatever. I work in ink, so I work in vellum. So a lot of the times, I'll sketch things in rough, and then I'll put the vellum over top, and I'll like redraw my stuff and clean it up.
Yeah.
But this one, I just like completely just went for it and freestyled it and just
came out very.
Yeah,
first
that's
try.
why you can see like I whited out areas I messed up because I just went for it. Sometimes when time is a factor, you just go.
So would they print any colors with that, or would that?
Yeah,
go?
everything I do the colors digitally on the computer.
You just like bloop 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 fill in everything.
Sometimes I do it in Photoshop, and sometimes I do it in Illustrator. So sometimes it depends on how it's being outputted. Like a shirt, you'd want to do Pantones and Illustrator and stuff.
Okay.
But like this is like would be a heat transfer for a deck, so you can do all the coloring in Photoshop, and
rad.
You can do as many colors as you want and all that stuff.
What's the graphic story? It's obviously just.
Oh yeah, well, where they live is they have this carnival that they're known for every year, and their main mascot is this Mr. Peanut guy, which is like it's hilarious that they still use this peanut guy, considering how many people are allergic to peanuts these days. But.
Yeah, it's like Mr. Deadly or something.
Yeah,
right,
I don't.
Right.
So
Peanut
I just
allergies.
like.
Did you go to the actual fair to get these images?
No, he just sent me a bunch of photos to work off of, and obviously I just completely made up this landscape. Like I just took a bunch of rides that they had and just made a different layout. In the final work, there's actually I added this guy like he's like panicking like on his knees, like he's had too much of like a bad time here.
I love it.
And all the minions have like frowny faces.
Yeah, the minions just look depressed.
Yeah.
That's
I just
great.
kind of wanted to be like this, like it's fun, but is it really like, you know?
Well, I
these
think
guys
anyway.
are like there's some guys puking off the.
Oh yeah. I got some puking.
Like everybody's happy, right? You know?
Yeah. Well, if you've ever puked at a midway or at a fair, that's a very specific feeling. Like all the different sounds of the loud music and the smells of the
It's
deep fried
kind of
shit.
like how I feel about clowns, where like, you know,
There's something creepy.
Fun to some level, but there's a whole other like where like the joke's gone too far and it's not funny anymore.
So what do we got?
This is I brought this little dude because he actually is on the new Yes Jackpot that just came out like
sick
last week or whatever.
All you can eat, and it's some serious lobster.
Yeah, he was just like one of the panels on the board.
Yep.
And the Jackpot, the graphics all about like Vegas and all the characters you'd see in Vegas.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hot
I brought
sauce
a couple.
There, that's quite.
It's so funny. I almost left and had no Yes graphics with me, and I was like, well, I think a brand that's been supporting me for over 10 years, I should bring some Yes stuff. So
wow, I'm looking at this stuff is getting chaotic.
This is the kids
awesome.
board.
Wow.
I went for an anime vibe on the Yes Kids board. Obviously, I thought that kids would like the manga, like cartoon style.
Yep.
You know, this is all done digitally, like the colors and stuff. So everything you're going to see is just black and white stuff.
So these are this is the black and white stuff that you scan digitally.
Yeah.
Color.
Yeah. I draw everything by hand. Like I don't, like some people do their sketches and then they redraw them on the computer.
Yeah.
Whereas I like to use my ink work because I feel like the imperfections and like how the lines are like not all exactly equal and whatever are all like what makes it look hand drawn and looks unique to me.
Organic, yeah.
Looks more organic, yeah. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yep. Well, these next ones coming up, holy smokes.
This was a Yes. All these top ones are Yes ones.
Nice.
This was just a sketch for the Yes split board. And so the idea behind this one I came up with was that, you know, because the split board is two sides of a ski basically put together, the shape of the bonsai tree would form this raven
I see it, yeah.
When it's in a snowboard. But then when you took the skis apart and put them like this, the part you don't see here because I drew it on a separate sheet, the clouds form a wolf head.
Wow.
So when it's a snowboard, you'd see like more the raven shape, and then when it's the skis, you'd see the wolf head.
That's incredible. Yeah, I love that.
Thanks. So I was trying to, in that case, like utilize how the function of the board changes the art, you know?
That's
when
dope.
It's like this, you see one thing, and then when it's like that, you know, it's a completely different thing, right?
It's incredible.
This is,
all right.
you can guess what this is.
Yeah, who is that now?
You know this one.
This
is a pop quiz. Who's this for?
Oh God.
You gotta answer this. This is your podcast. He's gonna be mad at you if you get it wrong.
It's Joe Buffalo?
No, this is DCP's graphic for the Costa Rica.
You just said it's all Yes. Yeah. Holy shit.
So he had the shaman, and then he had all the animals around it and the space around it. Really, with the chakras going through the board that light up.
Yeah.
So that's what this is. This is the shaman.
Is that a real person?
No, she's made up. Like I drew this other version of her, and DCP's like, oh, I don't want her to be like pretty or like, you know, like
sexy.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
sure.
She's got to be of the world and like not old, but not young, and like not like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A very neutral person.
Yeah.
So that came up with this person. Hopefully I got that right, but
nailed it.
Who knows?
The feather work is just exquisite on that.
Oh, thanks, dude. Yeah. Sometimes I draw in like brush tip, as you can see, and sometimes I draw in pit pen, which can be really fine, and sometimes I combine both of them together depending on it. This was just a little sketch for Remind Insole for the Jackson brothers.
Oh, sick.
Jackson Bros.
Yeah.
So Eric and John Jackson, they share a graphic.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And they do all the fishing stuff.
They like fishing, yeah. So
that makes sense.
Thought it would be edgy to have some dead flying fishes. Here you go. Here's your Chris Roach for Academy Snowboards. JB will be happy I brought something.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I got to ride with the Roaches, right? With Ryder Roach and Chris and Dave Sione, Blaze Rosenthal.
Yeah.
Corey Smith, a bunch of the guys up at Bear Valley.
This direction comes from Chris himself. Like he likes the stickman dude.
Yeah.
That's all him. I'm not sure his personal connection to the stickman character, but that's what he always likes. And there's a story behind if you look at all his boards, there's the Stickman is on this evolution. And it's kind of like the skate thing where one, he's doing something, and the next one, he's surfing, and there's these birds are in the background all the time, and the ship's always a constant. And there's usually he likes a different mountain view and the ocean beach, but sometimes Stickman's out there surfing, sometimes he's doing,
rad.
It's a different story every time.
It's very, very sick.
And he's got the reasoning behind the adventure that.
It's incredible that Chris is still that involved.
You might have to interview him next and ask the backstory to that.
You know what?
I don't really know.
He hates doing interviews.
Yeah, okay.
But he might one day. We'll see.
But that's also why I don't know the backstory, right? Because he tells me what he wants, but I don't ask him or
it's him.
know why the rhyme and reason to it all. I just sure, that's what you want. That's what you get, right?
It's freaking sick, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I kind of jumped back into a Yes graphic here by mistake, but
this is
oh man, I don't know if I'm allowed to show this one actually.
Is that in the
next
future?
Year's graphic? Yeah, next year's jackpot.
Right. So that's well, this will come out sometime in the snow season. So if it's not allowed, it's not allowed.
No, you can show it.
Yeah.
Let me just not talk about what this is.
Okay.
Yeah, you've seen it. That's all. It's good.
Very cool. This one's
the wolf. God, I don't even know what this is from. I just grabbed this one by mistake, but
I
don't really remember what this is from.
Looks like a sweater graphic, like all those wolf T-shirts and sweaters,
Oh, you know what I think this is? This might have been an early design I did for Fallen. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah, that makes
Fallen
sense.
Shoes, yeah.
So you were hired by Jamie for projects over the years?
Well, no, because Fallen kind of, I don't want to say fell, but Jamie sold off Black Box at some point. He sold Mystery off. He sold Slave back to Ben Horton.
Yeah.
And he sold Fallen off to one of the main distributors that sold Fallen out of Argentina.
Oh, cool.
Ronnie.
Yeah.
And so Ronnie bought Fallen off of Jamie, and he's been involved with the brand since day one. So,
that's dope.
It's sort of stayed in the family, and then when they started up again, people thought that they were Fallen was gone, but it actually took about 3 years for it to fully change hands and all the legality to go through.
So it missed a few years and then came back.
Yeah, exactly. Because Ronnie was setting up shop and getting shoes made, and that takes time. So
cool.
Then when they started up, I was already doing art for Soul Tech. I was doing art for Etnies and S, and Ronnie sort of scooped me up from that because he saw the stuff I was doing for shoes. And I kind of wasn't doing that much for Soul Tech for a little bit because they were kind of doing a little bit less art. And I asked Don, do you mind if I work with Fallen? They really need me. And he's like, oh yeah, no problem. Don's the best dude. And then Ronnie was really good to me. And I started off doing 2 graphics for Fallen, and then I became not art director, but I basically draw the whole line.
Wow.
I do anything that's drawn for Fallen is me.
Sick.
And so, it's a good gig and it's fun. I get to work with the pros directly, and Chris Cole and Tommy and Billy Marks and those guys. They tell me what they want and I draw it, and it's cool.
That's epic.
And then at some point, Soul Tech kind of came back to me and we kind of need more art. We need you back, kind of. And I was like, oh crap. And then I basically talked to both brands and was like, look, Fallen and Soul Tech are not really competing brands because the vibe is completely different,
Totally.
Fallen is a little bit more metal and edgy, and Soul Tech's a little bit more clean and,
Yeah.
So I was like, do you guys mind if I draw for both brands? And they know I'm very professional. I don't share information. I don't share what the other guy's doing.
Right.
So they both said yeah. So I basically will draw for both shoe brands.
That's really sick.
Yeah.
So this is something for Soul Tech 32. But
yeah.
They did.
This is also a next year design. I might get actually in trouble. But yeah, I'm doing all the hood rat stuff. I'm sure Suzanne's cool with it. I'm doing all the hood rat stuff for 32 and boots, and my line just came out like last week, so you're seeing next year's line right now.
Rad.
So we might have to blur the faces, but yeah.
So hood rats would be
Not hood.
Of course, but I mean that's going to be like streetwear and stuff, right?
Yeah, like shirts and like hoodies and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and then little jackets and all that stuff.
Yeah. You probably saw the Hood Rats line that just came out. Like I did that one.
Yes,
that's all my art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
this I had to bring a Canadian content. Of course, this is RDS.
RDS and fuck shit up.
Yeah. And my favorite artist growing up as a kid was MC Escher. So when Dave was asking me about, like, you know, I do about 3 or 4 graphics for RDS a season, so however 12 a year or something like that.
Yeah.
I came up with the idea of this one. He's like, you know, if you want to do like a skeleton or something, that'd be cool. And I was like, I have this idea. I'm like, I got to do the crystal ball because I love Escher. He's my favorite. Like most people that see this think I'm playing off of Joe Lopes, which is a skate graphic.
Right.
From the 90s or 80s?
Late 80s.
Late 80s, yeah. But Joe Lopes was a reference to Escher. So.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. So this is an MC Escher nod.
I love it. Oh, there's some fallen stuff.
More fallen.
Little pug.
This one's like a mix. Actually, this one, sometimes I just take a sheet of paper and I just fill it. So there's a Fallen logo in there, but the pugs are for Bones skate wheels.
Oh, sick. So that would be pugs going around the wheel with the bones.
Yeah,
I love it.
And the top one was the one we used. These were the two layouts I kind of came up with.
That's too cute. That's hilarious.
Do you know who Haisa is? She's a pro skater.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I've seen.
She's 13. She's
yeah.
She's like Nigel level, 13 years old,
and such good style.
Yeah, she's from Brazil.
Yes,
this is her pro wheel. Here.
That's
she's got actually a pug, and I thought it would be cute to put a little tutu on the pug because when she was like her like breakout video when she just was becoming discovered.
She was wearing the tutu the whole time.
You got it.
Yeah.
So I kind of combined the tutu with
That's cute.
The pug. Yeah.
That's super dope.
Yeah, thanks.
That's rad that she got her own wheel. She's still a teenager,
she kind of deserves
right?
it.
Oh yeah.
We put out the Haisa wheel and the Sky Brown wheel at the same time, so they both went pro.
Dope.
And I'm sure you know Sky Brown is.
I'm pretty sure.
She's same age. She's 13. She just went pro, and I mean, like X Games, she tossed a rodeo in her run.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it's kind of unreal.
Yeah, we're at a level of skateboarding that's just like video game level skating right now.
Yeah, like I don't even want to talk about it. It's like I'm just like a rodeo. I'm like out there doing heel flips.
This is pretty sick.
This is I think I can show this one even though it hasn't been made yet. We're still working on the graphic, but Paul Kelly, who used to be a rep for Academy and now is a rep for Oakley. This is a personal board graphic I'm doing for him, and he's getting Rob to make them.
This
dope. Is the base skull, and there's a top graphic too that we're still working on it.
I love it.
I accidentally grabbed a lot of skulls here right away.
I like these ones.
There's a bunch of skulls coming out here. Oh man, you know what I think? See, the thing is that when I'm doing this artwork and stuff, I'm usually working on full lines at the same time, right? So say I'm working on Etnies, or say I'm working on Fallen, or say I'm working on Bones. I'm working on 10 drawings at the same time. So say I'll finish 10 drawings, then I throw 10 drawings on the pile.
Yeah.
And so I'm going through my stuff, and it'll be like, you know, bones. And then it'll be like, yes. You know, so unfortunately I grabbed a lot of Fallen stuff here.
It's dope.
Because I just finished some Fallen stuff.
It looks great.
This is next year's Fallen graphic for a t-shirt.
It's cool that you're drawing, you know, a tattoo on a person in your illustration. Do people get these for tattoos? Do they reach out to you and say, can I get the line art for that?
You know, I've been approached so many times for the tattoo thing, and I always say no. And here's why. I have like this thing that I think that like if you really like want a tattoo done, like that person that is a tattoo artist, right, is an artist in his own right.
Right.
And it would be so insulting to me if somebody came to me and said, hey, I know you're a professional artist, but I love this other artist, and I wondered if you could paint this painting.
Could you paint this guy's art for a graphic for my board?
Exactly.
Wouldn't make sense.
So I say, no, just find a tattoo artist that you like.
Got it.
You know, like it's out of respect to their trade, right?
I got you. Yeah, that makes total sense. Like if you were bringing it to get it tattooed on yourself, then you bring it and say, hey, do this.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's like fine lines and rules to everything. And I like, you know, obviously myself, I don't have any tattoos, but if I got something of it, obviously I like Escher. So I would get like, send me an Escher drawing. The dude's been dead for, you know, he was a century or whatever, you know, you know, so it's not like, I think that's okay. Like it's another artist's art on my body.
I got you.
You know, but
yeah, I guess you wouldn't do your own art on your own body. It'd be like wearing your own T-shirt or, you know.
That's a whole other thing we won't get into. But yeah, I don't like, you know, like, yeah, I drew this Bone shirt and I drew these Etnies shoes.
Sick.
But
they're not your model. Like it's not your.
Yeah, I don't try it doesn't have my name all over it.
Exactly.
Like you could look at this and not know I drew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is another Chris Cole fall on for next year.
Fuck yeah. That's intense.
We just finished this one, so you guys are getting some really early insight into some stuff here.
Looks great. All this is insane.
Oh, the little mystery logo.
Love it.
Here's the Sky wheel. I drew this one like 3 times because, I mean, she's only 13, but she's really picky and had some definite feedback into it. Which I think is really great. Cool. Which I think is great. So I ended up drawing this one like 3 different times. And like,
it looks great.
Well, you know, we ditched the bonsai tree and put like a Hakusai wave behind her and stuff like that.
Cool. I could see how that fits.
Yeah, she likes surfing a lot too. So I think the wave had something to do with that.
That's badass.
Mm-hmm. I kind of actually randomly brought a little bit more skate stuff than I thought I did, but sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all good. I love this one. I feel like I've seen it.
I drew this. I do art for the barracks too, and I drew this for the barracks, and we put it out like this is like a spoof drawing. This is like May the 4th. You know, May the 4th be with you. I'm like a Star Wars nerd.
Sure.
And Steve Barrett is totally on the same level as me. Like we're both Star Wars nerds. So he got me to draw like these like skate Star Wars things every May the 4th, and we post them. I think the one we did this year is like, you know, Darth Vader doing the dark side slide down the handrail. You know, but this is Chewbacca doing the Wookiee grind, like the crooked grind across the carbonite here. So I call it the Wookiee grind.
It's super sick. That's great.
Yeah, he's got a good pinch on the crook there.
Yeah.
It's almost a little nose grindy.
Yeah.
We'll give it to him though.
It can't be easy to. Is he barefoot there? Like he's barefoot skating with his hair feet.
Yeah, he's barefoot.
Yeah.
I have a pretty, like, I don't know. I think I have a sense of humor.
I think you do.
That, but yeah.
So what is this huge thing?
I did this for Nick at Salmon Arm years ago. It's just like a pattern for a mitt. We didn't end up using it, but I thought it would be fun to bring it in.
Oh my God! Yeah, there's the little Noah Nub guy.
And I just like also like showing
the Lucky
that
Charms guy. Yeah,
you know, like not everything you create gets used, and that's okay because, like, you know, for every, you know, 5 failures, you're going to have 1 success that's bigger than your 5 failures. And
sure,
it's like golfing. You know, you're going to slice the ball however many times, but that one time you hit the green off the tee box feels pretty good and makes it worthwhile, right? And it's all part of the process. Like, you know, this didn't get used, but that's okay. It's not like Nick didn't like it or whatever. It just didn't find a place or find a home. and that's all part of creating, and that happens, and you can't get upset with your failures because it's part of your journey of like, you know, doing what you do.
Yeah, it's fucking sick.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to use this to end it. I'm going to zoom in by carrying this.
This failure.
Where's the end? It's right there. The end. Dude, thanks for being a part of the show.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for being a very fucking prolific and kick-ass artist in the space.
Thank you, sir.
And hopefully people understand a little bit more about what goes into the art and the design work of our community. I think you got that across really well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, it's pretty hard to sum up 20 years in a couple hours of your life, you know? Like it's
We'll have you back on. We'll have you back on again. It's always fun to talk to you. And we'll go shred.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Ride a bit of early season sunshine.
I think like I used to do all these events where I'd live paint at it. It would be cool to do a follow up that was like, you know, it was like painting an event so you could see that side of it as well.
Yeah, if I have a grand opening for I'm doing a space I think on West 4th. It would be cool to fly you out for like, you know, a grand opening event, do a live painting.
I always love having an excuse to fly somewhere and paint something.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Right on, man.
All right, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. FNRad shout-outs this week to Mark Kowalchuk. Thanks for doing the show, man. And thanks for helping me with my FNRad art this season. The first t-shirt that I'm going to make for merch has been put up in the FNRad Instagram, link in bio. Buy them on Shopify. It's a pre-sale, and I'll be shipping them by Christmas, I hope. Hopefully way sooner than that. Anything you buy from Shopify for us helps support the show. Also, you can subscribe to us on Patreon. That'll really help get us going and keep us going. I'm trying to make this my full-time job, and the only way to do that is through the support of you guys, the listeners. Buy all the stuff that the sponsors sell and keep supporting the show. Thanks for listening, and be sure to come back next week or the week after, I'm not sure when, for another preseason episode of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast. Season 9 drops November 1st. With E-Stone. You're not going to want to miss it. All right. Peace.